How long are radio commercial breaks? Wow, what a loaded question. I know, isn't there times when you're sitting there listening to some of your favorite music and all of a sudden it seems like the rest of the day they spent on commercials? Well, actually, there's a strategy and a technique behind programming radio commercial breaks, and we'll go over a little bit of it so you have a little inside behind the scenes glimpse and maybe figure out, we'll show you how you can use it to your advantage if you become an advertiser. You ready? Let's go. So by the end of this video, we're going to show you a couple different things. Number one, how to structure the breaks in a radio commercial, why they do the breaks the way they do them, and a little technique on how to how radio stations try to outwit their competition. Huh? Would you believe there's an actual battle between what they call stop sets? Yes. It's a very interesting battle, and we'll go over that in just a second. Let's go. So when it comes to setting up an hour on a radio station, and a typical hour is kind of programmed out in a very similar way. I was just talking to my daughter about this the other day, as a matter of fact. Chances are you start off with the legal ID at the top of the hour, and the first thing you're going to do is come up with a really hard-hitting, really popular song at the top of the hour, and that way it just kind of kicks things off and gets the listener, in a really good mood, and they're going to want to stick around, right? Well, then after that, you're looking at a couple different stop sets throughout the hour, and it depends on how they're broken up, but typical, I'm gonna really oversimplify this quite a bit. Let's say you've got 4 breaks in an hour. We're gonna strategically place those throughout the hour at, say, 8 minutes, 20 minutes, 35 minutes, and 50 minutes. Now, why is that? They're kind of like, they're not 1, 6, 3, and 9. It's more like 2 and 7 or 8 and 10 and 4, 5, something right in there. They're kind of like making an X, because when it comes to surveys and when it comes to determining who's number one in the market and who's being listened to the most and who has the most listeners and who's being listened to the longest and all that kind of stuff, the hour is broken down into 4 quarter hours, and your basic quarter hours, 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 12. So if you end up winning, let's say if you end up listening from 0 to 8, they go to a commercial break, and I hate to say this, but yes, a lot of people bail at the commercials, and you end up on another station at the 10, both of those radio stations could be possibly credited with that quarter hour. You were at one station from 0 to 8, and you were at the other station from 10 to 15. Both stations could get credit for that quarter hour. Very interesting situation there. So the quarter hour is what you end up wanting, what the radio station is wanting to win in order to look best in the ratings books. And then the other version, the other number that they want to focus on is TSL, or time spent listening. How long are people listening? The opposite is also true. Let's say you started at the top of the hour, you heard that great music at the beginning, crossed over into the next quarter hour, and around 20, you decided to bail. When that commercial break came in, that radio station now gets credit for the full half hour, even though you only listened to the 20. Where you listen to 21 or 18. Whenever that break happened, they got credit for the full 30. So both sides are kind of being jostled. It's like, when did you leave and when did you come back? Or if you stayed, how long did you stay? And trying to win the quarter hour and the time spent listening, radio stations will program their breaks to try and kind of manipulate that a little bit and get the numbers, get your reporting to work to their advantage. So if somebody's listening from, let's say, 28 minutes after the hour all the way to 47 minutes, that's 19 minutes. But they started in the 3 to 6 quarter hour, they listened through 6 to 9, and then crossed into the 9 to 12, the station could get credit for that full 45 minutes after only listening for 19 minutes. Pretty amazing, huh? So there's a lot of stuff going on, and the radio stations are duking it out and battling it out and trying to get as many quarter hours and the longest time spent listening as they possibly can. Now, the total number of listeners and stuff like that, those are just numbers that happen. but it's the it's what's happening in the hour on the dial that they have the control over, and so they're going to mess with that as much as they possibly can. Had no idea this was behind the scenes at a radio station, did you? Well, there's a lot going on, and we cover a lot of it right here, especially the advertising side of it. I want to try and stack the deck in your favor when it comes to radio advertising, so be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and you won't miss a single thing. We've got a bunch of great stuff coming up when it comes to copywriting and good stuff like that, creating your ads and things to make them much more effective. So be sure to subscribe and don't miss those coming up. There is a limit to the number of ads per hour, and depending on what you're listening to, it could be anywhere between 12 and 18 minutes per hour. So you're also going to cluster those together. Remember, I said you had the 8, the 20, the 35, and the 50, right? So with that as our foundation, what happens if you're given, say, 18 minutes? You're actually going to structure, let's say the radio station decides to only program 16 minutes worth of ads, okay? They're going to take 16 minutes worth of ads. That'll be a 4-minute breaks, right? What would happen if they only sold 11 minutes? What if they didn't sell those last few minutes? Well, they could do a couple different things. Either reduce it to like 2 or 3 minutes a piece and scatter the ads throughout the entire hour through all 4 breaks. Or what you could do is, let's say, skip the 8-minute commercial break and go straight from 50 all the way to 20. That's 30 minutes commercial free starting now. I'm sure you've heard some of that stuff. Basically, that means they just didn't sell the commercial break, okay? So now you've got 30 minutes of music where you can listen. And they're going to brag about it because they're going to try and get you to stay, TSL, time spent listening, and they're going to try and drag you from the 50 all the way to the 20 to get all those quarter hours. You see how this is starting to add up now? Now is it starting to make sense? So that's the purpose behind it, okay? You could maybe develop it into just 2. And let's say you went with the 35 and the 50. Then you go from 50 all the way back around to 35. That's almost a full hour of just straight music and no commercials. We're going the commercial free, you know, all that kind of stuff. You've heard all that kind of stuff, right? Well, there's a reason behind it and how they manipulate it to make it sound A, the best, make it sound the best for you, but B, also cater to the advertising audience as well. Now, something else to keep in mind, and radio stations know this very well. Let's say we have a 5-minute break, and this has been proven again and again and again through surveys. I could give you 5 60-second commercials or 8 30-second commercials. 5 minutes versus 4 minutes. And you will complain more about the 8 commercials because it's not so much that it took up only 4 minutes compared to 5 minutes, it's that you were interrupted. Your listening, your music enjoyment was interrupted 8 times. And that made it feel like an eternity. It was actually a shorter break, but it felt long because it had more, the subject changed more often, changed 8 times as opposed to 5. I could get away with 5 60s. I can't get away with 8 30s. That's just way too much, and you're going to bail on the radio station. It's spot after spot after spot. Even 15s, after a bunch of rapid-fire 15s, you're like, oh my gosh, do they ever play music on this station anymore? Of course, you were just listening 5 minutes ago. Yes, you know they play music, but the fact remains, you've been interrupted so many times. That's why you bailed. So it's funny because it's not the length, it's how many interruptions. The radio station's got to watch out for that too, or else they can really shoot themselves in the foot. Now, there's a little technique that radio stations will play with each other, especially when it comes to other stations in the exact same format. So if you've got the top country stations duking it out, or if you've got the top 40 stations duking it out, or something like that, what they'll do is a technique called pre-breaking. So let's say you're station A and I'm station B. You have your break at 20 after the hour. I'm going to have mine at 18 after the hour. I'm pre-breaking you. Now, how is that an advantage to me? Simple. We've both got our listeners listening up until 18 or 20. I'm listening, mine are listening to 18, yours are listening to 20. My folks hear me, they're listening to my radio station, and at 18, say they don't want to hear a commercial break, so they bail. Well, since we're competition, since we're in the same format, chances are they're going to be bouncing back and forth between my station and your station. So when they hear my commercial break, they're going to bounce to your station and they're going to catch the last minute, minute and a half of a song. Then you're going to go into a commercial break. Maybe your jocks are going to talk first and then you go into a commercial break. They're going to listen to one, maybe two commercials and then go, oh my gosh, this is taking so long. Doesn't anybody play music anymore? Then they come back to my station and I'm already back to music. So they listened to you for about 30 seconds, but they ended up coming back to me because I'm already back to music faster than you are. You just started your stop set. So that's called pre-breaking, and it's a very, very interesting technique when you hear radio stations kind of battling it out. You hear, oh, first they were at the 20, now they're at the 19, now they're at the 17, now they're at the 16. Well, you can't go to 15, we got to go the other way. So they're going to try and sneak in an extra song before the commercial. So, it really is kind of crazy. It's a funny thing. I've seen program directors run to the computer to start adjusting hours because they just heard the competition start their commercial break in relation to our break. Oh, it's so funny. It is so funny. But pre-breaking is something to listen for. See if you can't catch it the next time you're listening to your favorite radio stations. So that's a little sneak behind the scenes at a radio station and commercials and commercial breaks and stuff like that to stack the deck in your favor with whatever radio station you end up going to. I have a free gift for you down below. Look in the description section and you'll see a link, the radio advertising checklist. Now, it's not just a checklist, it is like an entire lesson in and of itself, a brainstorming session, and then how to take that brainstorming session and actually turn it into really good copy for your next radio commercials. A couple examples to walk through, a very creative section up front, and then how to wrap it up into a real ad at the end. Get your copy right now. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Trust me. Get yours right now. Click the link down below. I'm Nic Natarella with AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.